Alright guys, so this is the first video on our stereo install adventure. And by stereo I mean baseline, because this has the B O in it. We're going to attempt to install the baseline. I have to do a seat lift because my box with 2 tins is pretty deep, pretty tall. So you got to do a 2.5 inch seat lift on the rear, but that'll either be in another video or at the end of this one.
Turn that shit off.
What I'm using is 4 gauge, and it's I'll put a link in the description below to the kit that I'm using. So we're basically going to run it from the battery over. I'm going to go down the driver's side, and I don't even know if you can see down in there, but back down in here beside the master cylinder, there's a huge rubber grommet with wires going through. All right, so got my power wire here, and I've cut off about 6 to 8 inches of it. And the reason for that, we're gonna put the inline fuse holder in the middle before we make our connection. All right, put our ring terminal on, get our crimpers. You got to have a big set of crimpers for this. Now, I got this finished, but I found out even with a big crimper set of pliers, these 4 gauge and bigger probably is best bet. I just took it in the shop building and put it in a vise and squeezed it right down perfect. So a bench vise for large connections like that would probably be a lot better. So now that's our ring terminal for the battery. Okay, that will fit that. Now we're going to skin this back, go into this side of the fuse, skin this back, go into this side of the fuse. So, and one thing that really helps out, I'll show you guys, is about 3/4 of an inch back, take a razor blade carefully and just go around with the razor blade, and then I make one little etch that way. And what happens, instead of taking your pliers and messing up any of the wire, you've got a clean cut on the rubber right there. All right, so now we take our fuse holder, and that's a usually it comes with a Allen wrench that you can open that thing up to about right there. Careful not to come too far. Oh, okay, and I'm looking on this, so it's actually got a sleeve inside it for an 8 gauge. All right, yep, there went the sleeve. So it can downsize to an 8 gauge, but it can upsize to the 4 gauge. All right, twist that wire really, really tight. You want to tighten these down pretty tight. All right, get that tight. And even if you have a little bit of the wire visible right there, don't worry, because this is going to cover it all up. All right, there's that side. Easy peasy. All right, we're going to do the next side. All right. Like I said, remember to put your cap on, because it won't go over this. If you get this torqued down, You're gonna say, oh no, didn't put my end cap on. Always helps if you got somebody with you. Second pair of hands just to hold things. Me, I usually work alone on my stuff, which isn't a big deal. It just takes a little bit longer. I take my time. All right, tighten down. All right, there it is. And then we'll connect it to the battery, but that will be a little bit later. I'll just leave it laying out of the way over here. All right, got the wire ran the other day, and I didn't have my wire loom. Ordered it on Amazon, so it took a few days to get here. So I went ahead, zip tied the power wire up, but you guys can see I don't like the red look. May not bother y'all, it's under the hood, but I always like to keep things clean looking. And now, since I was anxious and I put the wire loom, the zip ties on first, now I gotta cut the zip ties off, put the wire loom on, put more zip ties on. So I'm impatient. All right, so backing you guys up, there's the power wire. I just ran it under here, down the door sill, all the way up under the door sill at the front, under this way, up under the parking brake, and through into the cab with the rubber grommet down there. All right, just finished the wire loom. You guys can see right here, going across, looks so much better than that red. Yeah, I like my new touch screen, so that's part of the stereo, just not this video, but touchscreen's pretty nice when you can pull up your own YouTube channel. So for the subwoofer enclosure, I reached out to Jeff at Super Crew Sound for the full-size dual 10-inch box, and this will accommodate 2 of the Kicker competition series deep subs. By deep, I mean 5.5 to 5 3/4 mounting depth. They're not the shallow units. All right. Now that you've ran your power wire, the next thing is going to be the ground. Okay, you see the amp back here? There's your ground right there. So where do you mount the ground at in your truck? Well, on the 18s with the B O, got a bracket right here, mounted right there. Perfect. Now with the remote wire, which is right there, you can run it to a 12-volt fuse that is switched up front, which kick panel is up there. So you can run that way, or the neat thing about the Kicker LOC box that I have is you can run it to the blue wire on the LOC box. But with doing that, you have to make sure the black wire to the LOC box is grounded. There's your remote 12-volt turn-on lead. All right, pay close attention, guys, because here's where the misinformation starts. So I got the Kicker. It's got the diagram on the back, what wires go where. It's pretty neat. It's got the remote turn on, so I don't have to run a wire all the way up to the fuse box up there. I can just run it out of there, tap it into my amp, which is under the seat. So you notice I've stripped this back. This is the sub wiring, the factory sub wiring. And the 2 we're gonna focus on is that violet with an orange stripe and the yellow. Violet with orange stripe is positive, yellow is negative. So that's gonna go to a positive and negative on here. Just one of the channels. You can pick white or gray, doesn't matter. But it's gonna go just like that. And then the other one, white or gray, which one you don't choose for the sub channel, we're gonna come over here, tap into the driver's rear speaker. That will give us our second input. So sub input, rear speaker set of leads input. So that's gonna cancel out any frequencies that are pre-done by the B O, hopefully. All right, just use those two Scotch lock connectors. Saves you from cutting any wire. You just add those two blue connectors to the wire, and we'll move along to the next step. What I did, I'll go ahead and pull this off for you. Shouldn't have put it back down before I made the video. All right, right here, you can see this wire. I just stripped back some of my insulation. So I tapped into the rear driver speaker for my second input. All right, so on the Fords, I tap into the white with a green stripe and the brown with a yellow stripe. No, it don't work. It don't work at all. Listen to strangers on the internet.
Bag up, bag up. Bag up, Terry. Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord, Jesus.
All right, so what I wound up doing is I installed the way they told me right up front. I still got to hide a lot of wires. But I did the channel here. I contacted Kicker just to talk to them about my amp, and they advised against running a channel for one and a channel for another on the same amp, two different channels from different sources. So I just said, well, I'm gonna try it anyhow because a guy on the internet told me to do that. Well, it did not work out the way I wanted. The B O was up and down, taking control the frequencies. So at one moment I'd have bass that was here, bum, 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 you know, I'm demonstrating the bass. Then I would have bass that would jump up here, bum, 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 then back down, then here, then there. So I was constantly adjusting the bass or listening to it vary. Which is one of the problems with the B O controlling everything. So what I wound up doing is just aborting where I tied in right here for this, put that back stock. I got away from that. The solution to this whole problem of altering the signal is right here, guys. So you're just going to tap into the violet with a orange stripe. That is your positive, and the yellow is your negative. All right, so how do I wire that to the LOC box? You got 4 wires coming out of the LOC box, so you're going to attach both of your solid color wires, the white and the gray, will go to the violet with the orange stripe. All right, those are positive. All right, your negatives, which is the white with the black stripe and the gray with the black stripe out of the LOC box, will go into the yellow. All right, you got that? So you pigtail those. You're just using one channel on the stock Sony plug here. You do not mess with the green and the gray. So we're just using the violet with the orange stripe, positive, and the yellow, which is negative. Got it? Good. So guys, if you got a cool ride, you got a nice truck or car or SUV, and it looks killer, you get compliments all the time, You gotta upgrade the stereo. Come on, guys, let's do this. All right, so unfortunately, YouTube will not allow me to upload bass clips of music to show you guys a demonstration of what the final product is, because it's a copyright violation. They'll flag me on it. So I was like, man, that sucks, but I got a small clip just to show you.
Turn that shit off.